Hey, can you help me find the 35 millimeter film?
Sure, it's right over here on this shelf.
In 1975, a young engineer at Kodak built something strange. It was heavy. It was slow. And the image quality was terrible, but it didn't use film. It was the world's first digital camera. The engineer's name was Steven Sasson. He worked inside Kodak, the biggest photography company on Earth. At the time, Kodak was not just successful, it was untouchable. The company controlled most of the global film market. Every photo taken on film was money in Kodak's pocket. Family vacations, weddings, birthdays, graduations, all of them passed through Kodak. Their slogan said it all: you press the button, we do the rest. And the business model was brilliant. Kodak didn't just sell cameras, they sold film, and film had to be bought again and again. Every roll, every print, every memory. It was a machine that turned moments into money. So when Sasson walked into a meeting and showed his digital camera prototype, he wasn't showing a new product. He was showing the end of Kodak's business model. The camera stored images electronically. No film, no chemicals. No prints, just data. Inside the room, the reaction was mixed. Some were curious. Some were impressed. But the executives saw something else. If this technology succeeded, people wouldn't need film anymore. And if people didn't need film, Kodak's most profitable business would disappear. The company wasn't afraid of the technology. They understood it. They just didn't like what it meant. The digital camera didn't look like an opportunity. It looked like a threat to film sales, a threat to photo processing, a threat to the entire profit engine. So the question inside Kodak wasn't, is this the future? The question was, do we really want this future? And the answer was complicated, because financially, film was still incredibly profitable. Digital cameras, on the other hand, were expensive, slow, and low quality. From a short-term business perspective, it made perfect sense to protect film. Why rush into a technology that would destroy your strongest revenue stream? Why replace a model that had worked for decades? Why kill the golden goose with your own hands? So Kodak made a decision. They would continue researching digital technology, but they wouldn't push it aggressively. They wouldn't let it place film too quickly. In other words, they would control the future, or at least try to slow it down. Inside the company, it felt responsible. It felt safe. Kodak wasn't ignoring digital photography. They were managing the transition carefully, slowly, on their own terms. But the outside world was not moving slowly in the 1990s. Electronics companies started entering the camera market. Sony, Canon, Nikon. They weren't dependent on film. They didn't have a legacy business to protect. For them, digital wasn't a threat, it was an opportunity. While Kodak tried to balance two worlds, their competitors focused on just one, the future. Digital cameras improved quickly. Storage became cheaper. Image quality got better every year. Then the internet arrived. Now photos didn't just need to be printed, they needed to be shared. Email, websites. Later, social media, all of it favored digital. Film suddenly felt slow, inconvenient, old, and Kodak's greatest strength became its greatest weakness. The company had spent decades building a business around film, factories, chemicals, processing labs, distribution networks. All of it depended on one thing: people buying film. But the world was moving away from it, and Kodak had a problem. They had invented the future, but they were not built to live in it. By the early 2000s, digital photography was everywhere. Compact digital cameras were replacing film cameras. Soon after, smartphones entered the picture. Now everyone had a digital camera in their pocket, and film collapsed. The very thing Kodak had tried to protect was disappearing anyway. Only this time, they were not in control. Competitors dominated the digital market. New tech companies owned the platforms. Kodak was stuck between two worlds. The old one was dying. The new one didn't belong to them. In 2012, Kodak filed for bankruptcy, a company that once defined photography couldn't survive the digital age. And the most uncomfortable part of the story is this. Kodak didn't miss the future. They invented it. The digital camera was born inside their own labs. They saw it first. They understood it first. They built it first, and still, they chose not to push it. Not because they were stupid, not because they were blind, but because the new technology threatened the system that made them rich. Inside Kodak, the decision felt rational. Protect the profitable business. Delay the risky one. Move carefully. It sounded like good management until it wasn't. And that's why this story. Because the decision that killed Kodak didn't look like a disaster. It looked like a smart, responsible choice, at least in the moment.